What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders? Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys are feeling good. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with. I went to log in and his Zoom just didn't open, and I was like, huh. So I had to restart, and I think we got it set up. So I'm just getting, I have to re-log into every screen possible and do all the fun stuff. But yeah, I'm not sure. Did anybody else have any issues with Zoom not opening right away, or just my silly little computer? I don't know. AJ's in the house. What's up, AJ? We got Amy here. Anna's here. Andy Walk is here. Good morning to Ann, Bill, Brad, Cindy, Eric, Frank, Jeffrey, JT, Keith, Lauren's in the house. Good morning to Lucian, Marius, Ray, Rob, Tim. Good morning. We got Wendy. Good morning. Lucian said, nope, no problem. Nah, just on my end, I guess. YouTube land. Ray says just me. I guess so. Yeah, just it's a me issue. Yeah, it was weird. It did open, so like I clicked it, nothing happened. I clicked it again, nothing happened. I clicked it again, and then like all of a sudden, 4 minutes later, it started opening, and then some nothing was connected. I don't know. It kind of wild, but it is what it is. Mustafa's in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to M Sky. We got Leonard out in YouTube land. Hostile. Good morning to you, William. Good morning. All my lurkers in the background. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. Even if you're gonna sit there not saying nothing, it's okay. I still love you. But let me just get one more window open on my end, just so this one looks like it. Perfect. Just to get set up. Perfect. But yeah, you guys are throwing out some Palantir. After I left, it was just mayhem. Yeah, towards the end of the day yesterday, just mayhem. Things were going crazy, but SPY is gapping down a little bit. So we did have, even with the pure mayhem, chaotic craziness in the market yesterday, toward the end of the day on some of the beloved stocks. I know, this is tough, especially when it's those ones. But you got SPY is gapping down a little bit, still just at the high end of what was that? Friday's candle, Tuesday's candle. So not bad, hanging in there. To the downside, you should have really good support somewhere around 609.95, and then to the high side of things, 612.34 looks like. Yeah, 612.34 to the high side. If we start breaking that out, you got the highs of yesterday and then back to all-time highs. But we have now moved 1, 2 inside day. We'll count it 3, 4, 5, about 5 days. No real pullback and just kind of hanging out. We got one day left tomorrow in the week, so we'll see how this one wants to play out. But for right now, kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. I don't know, a little chop, I would suppose. And then you have again, I think you have a little bit more room to the bearish side, just risk to reward wise. I don't know if I would go bearish quite yet. I would just kind of see what those opening candles give us. But maybe a tight range until we could break through one of those. But again, even with everything said, last yesterday we did hit all-time highs on the SPY, so it's hard to be very bearish when we're just hitting all-time highs unless you're just trying to call tops every single candle that we get. Qs, a little bit stronger, I guess. Uh, we are pulling back, so we're about halfway through yesterday's high wave candle. The only reason I think maybe we could be stronger just depends on where we open. Right now, it's just flat at yesterday's VPOC. So if we can creep above 538.96, that puts yesterday's support below us, and then we don't have really anything holding us back from creating even new higher highs today, except for just psychological. You got maybe Tuesday's candle. High of that one would be 539.98, and then of course yesterday's top of the market, to you. We got 540.83, and if we get that, obviously we're looking for all-time highs on this one. Again, just no real pullback, hanging into that support. If we start to lose that zone, I think we come down to like this 537.52. That should be good support. One candle a little bit lower, 537.30. If we start breaking through that, that kind of opens up the field for a bigger pullback. And I don't know that that happens. I think we're just sitting with a little bit more consolidation for today. We will see. Tim says Cup Baba. Yep. Bob had earnings this morning, and I like it when I'm in it, and then I gotta kind of expand the chart out. I think we were a little bit higher, so pulling back a tad, but we got up to like this 140 range, so nice little move off of earnings. Let's see how they did. They came in with earnings per share beat of 9.86. And then on the revenue side of things, you got 227 million to the higher side. So fairly decent earnings. I'm not sure if they're buying, I don't know. I don't see the report if they're buying back any more shares or anything fun like that, but they have done that before. They have established a dividend before, so they've done some things. And I think even at 137.83, again, I'm biased because I'm in it, but it is still relatively cheap for a stock trading with sales the way they have it. Providing again all numbers are correct, it is still a very cheap stock. So I don't think I think that on some of these pullbacks they'll probably be kind of bought up. For today, that is quite the run we've had into an explosive earnings. Uh, Pretty nice gap up. I think there's probably some people, unfortunately, that want to take some shares off the table. And it makes sense. But really good gap. You are clearing this pivot. Kind of got held up at this one, right in this 140 zone. So if we can start breaking 140, maybe for today you have some room up to like 144.22. And then there is a little bit of an open gap uh, over here that never really got closed. That's 151.33 and then 162. In terms of volume, let's see. I got to flip to the weekly on this one. But in terms of volume on a longer term basis, again, a little bit of volume somewhere around this 140, which we're getting held up at now. If we could break it, I got my next kind of volume zone 144.22, and then a slightly bigger one somewhere around 152.04. So I think it has room to the higher side. I don't know how sustainable this is today with just massive. I mean, look at the weekly candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of straight buying into a nice gap up. And unfortunately, there's not much really holding us up from this level. So we really want to try to recapture that 140. I think this is probably a fade for today and potential to get back down to like 126.43, something to that extent. I might look to do some covered calls at open on this one. I just don't know where I want to put them. We've seen some other stocks open and just run crazy, but I wasn't in those ones. So the ones that I'm in, probably a fade. I would I would just assume. But yeah, really good gap on that one. I think that there's probably we're walking into some profit taking, at least at open. Andy says the login was sort of frozen for me too. Yeah, that's what. Well, the login for RLT was fine, but it was just Zoom. I don't know. Very weird. We got Palantir, PLTR. So kind of a double whammy yesterday for Palantir. So they did come out. Some of the board was selling some shares. So that's number one. Interesting part about that, they didn't sell a lot of shares. They did sell shares, but I don't mind. I'm actually surprised they didn't sell all their shares, to be honest. The fact that they're still holding shares is just astonishing to me. So take it for what it's worth. The other news, I think that you got a little bit of a bigger. Lucia says, "I wonder why Bob is the only one that pops on good earnings call. Do you think the fact that it's foreign company has to do with it?" I don't know if it's the only one that pops on good earnings. I think the location as it reports, I think is huge. And I think on a value basis, like some of these stocks are momentum stocks that like if Palantir came in with good numbers, honestly, I could probably go either way with it. Right. So they're like on this move, we were sitting at highs, and I could have went either way with this going good earnings, and we're already up massively. That's a tough move, but you have all the momentum in your direction. Baba, I think, is a little bit more value. They do have some element of the AI to it too, so you might have something running in. But I think the value is just you guys know where my price target is. It's $800, and I'm not even close to it. So I think Baba is just fairly undervalued, and I think you're starting to see two things happen in China. So I think even like if we'll get back to K-Web in a second. That's a good question. But you have like K-Web that's already been kind of moving. So you start to see a little rotation in China, first of all. And I think that was part weighing down really every Chinese company. But then the second thing is earnings. And if now you have a company itself that is starting to beat, produce, they've been buying back shares, they've been uh, establishing some dividends, they've been doing all the things that investors would like to see. And now you have good earnings on top, plus you have momentum kind of coming into China in general. I think it's still fairly undervalued for where it's actually even sitting at open, but I think it's probably a sell. So, yeah, Palantir. The other shoe on the foot of this one was Trump coming out, and he was saying that he's looking to reduce the Pentagon's budget by 8%. So obviously Palantir gets eight. I don't know. I would say that this would be an overreaction if this thing wasn't already at 125. Like pretty much essentially when that news was coming out, it was one up in that range, 124, 125. So we're up massively. I don't know that 8% is quite the overreaction from that level. If this dropped as much as it did and we're just sitting like as a normal stock, I would think this is a little bit of an overreaction. Because they do rely on government contracts, so that could affect their business potentially, providing we don't know where those cuts are coming from. But the other portion of that is they're not, they used to just be solely relying on government contracts. They have been expanding into the private sector as well. So I don't think all their revenue comes from that. Interesting spot where we're opening, and I think they even had some upgrades come in overnight after this dip. So you already have some people trying to go bullish on Palantir here. This is probably one of the biggest red candles we've seen in quite some time on Palantir. In some sense, an opportunity to buy again is very, very high for me, so I'm not going to go long term. If this can hold this 107.68, that should be a decent looking potential bounce spot. I think we get a retest into probably 113.21. So I think for a day trade basis to look bullish on this one, I don't think I would pass on that opportunity. I think it's a decent move. Again, long-term investing and looking at the company valuation, we're still very, very high. And I think you just had probably some people still in here kind of safe. Otherwise, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of people that just bought like maniacs that might be trapped, might get a little worried, and this one maybe has a struggle. The other thing is it's still Palantir, and again, we've already seen some upgrades come in. Yeah, I think the valuation has a lot to do with it. Like on Baba, I'm not selling shares. I don't care if it fades. I'm just not selling shares. I don't care if it comes down to like if you got a good entry on something, I'm up whatever $15 per share on this gap up, but I'm not even close to where I think fair valuation should be, and I have a good price on it. So if it comes all the way back down and makes that trip and just did that same thing, I'll probably buy more shares. Right. So I'm in a good spot. And I think we sat there long enough on something like Baba where we just had a good base. We started breaking out. You start getting that momentum back into a stock. Then you have good news to just kind of light the fire, and that would help set a stock up. But if Baba ran, like if this was the Baba chart, and then you have those earnings come out, now you're sitting where people are like, I don't know, this is an expensive stock already, and then you have good earnings. You're just waiting to see what happens from there, and then where do you like? You have to really continue to produce and grow like crazy, and like something like Baba is not. It's not growing in the same sense like a Palantir or Nvidia is, but it still makes really good money, and I think the valuation just makes sense where it's like it's still really cheap. If again, if all the numbers are correct, and if China doesn't invade Taiwan, I haven't heard that news in a while, so we are starting to put some of that stuff behind us. Intel is still chilling. We are still inside this candle from Tuesday, which was a massive breakout candle. You're still hanging above this 200, which is impressive. Um, I don't know how strong Intel's going to be today for a trade, at least in a bullish direction. And I think for the bearish direction, we almost want to come back down into this 200. That also lines up with a few VPOCs over here. So 25.17 would be target for today. I know pre-market they did just have a decent little pop, but I still think they're red on the day. Yeah, we're still red on the day, but we just had a decent little pre-market pop. I'm not sure that the buyers. I think you need a little bit more time on this one for like the next real big candle to come in, whether that be bearish or bullish. Right, this is another one that went from $19 all the way up to $27 in the matter of I don't know a week, a week and a day or two. So yesterday, a little bit of rusted candle, still kind of hanging out, probably about the 618 of this candle. If we get a bigger pullback, I think you will have buyers starting to step in somewhere probably close to $23, 23.30, something like that. Or a better spot would be 22. Now that you've already made that move, it showed a little sign of life. I think there's possibility for this one to continue, but it probably has to rest for, I would assume, another couple days. Let some of those moving averages start to catch up, and then for like the next real big push. If this thing starts to break, so yeah, looking for a short opportunity, maybe looking for 25, 90, 91. Still inside day, little red candle, probably gets maybe a little continued bought up, but I think that $26 level, and then the next big level you want to watch for is 26.13. We start breaking out of that, then you do have probably another run back to this 27.35, and probably a little bit of a continued push into this gap fill, which is all the way up at 29.24-ish, somewhere up there. But I don't know if the momentum is going to come in today for a day trade. We could watch it. We'll see. I think I like it a little bit to the short side if it can get bid up a little bit more. Again, you have people that sat through this thing looking for that gap fill. We got to 27.40, and now you're giving some of those gains back, and they might, if they got it in a good price, they're still up decently on this thing. So I'd watch it, but yeah, I'm not sure if we really get great momentum coming in on that one. STZ. Constellation Brands. Yeah, this is another one. I would like to see this one pull back one more time on a daily basis. Kind of come in and retest this 162.88. Otherwise, we did see this gap and go from 2 days ago. We had a little continuation. You're still going to get that pressure from that 20 EMA coming in somewhere around 175.16. And you are opening right into a rather big resistance. So I got resistance on this one somewhere around 173.29. If you can break it, you're looking for about 176.23. Worst case, I think inside day, probably looking for a little bit of a retest into yesterday's VPOC. If you're trying to go bullish, I'd see if we could maybe land at like 171.62. Again, on a daily basis, even though we had a decent gap, and maybe this is the one that you want to retest. Maybe you don't have to wait for this because it was a gap and go. But maybe if you get something breakout, pullbacks, something like that would be a decent look, and then stop down here somewhere. So if you're trying to play this on a swing trade, I would look for something like that. Otherwise, I would be looking. We got up into this first resistance yesterday. Maybe we could break through it today. Got this in the way, and then target into that range somewhere for today. But it could start looking good on a potential swing trade basis. Day trade, there's a lot going on, and I don't know if I have enough room to really make good risk reward on a day trade on it. We got Walmart, WMC. Yeah, so they reported good earnings. So this goes back to that question Lucian just asked. You have good earnings. You're up by 2% earnings per share. They did beat by 479 million. The problem with this is I think you're at like I think even at this current price, you're sitting around 35 times earnings for Walmart. That's a lot for a retail store that just moved from 89 all the way up to 105, kind of like it was Palantir. So this thing is up, and that's just the last pivot. I mean, if we're really looking at this thing, you've had a ginormous move, gone absolutely crazy. So I don't know. Can they sustain this? I don't know if the buyers will come in immediately on this one because you have a lot of people profitable, but there's no good story around it. Yeah, and then Tim saying they got weak guidance. It's not going to help. Not going to help. So I think you probably have a little bit of support. This is your last good candle. You had good volume. If you could stay above 99.69, which I think we're slightly below it at this point, if you can stay above it, there might be a chance for some kind of pop into like this $100 mark. But we're opening below that zone. I think your next support 98.66. I'm not sure how strong that is. I think you're looking for at least a mini retest into 97.10, and then probably back to like 95.68. I don't know if we hit that one today, but I could see us hitting this $97 zone for today on the short side of things. So I'd be leaning a little bit short on that one. I think sell the rips for today. It's still Walmart. It's still a good company, but if I was looking at it from a investor standpoint, I'm paying a lot right now, even at this price for Walmart, and I would have to have Walmart either grow like crazy, which there's a Walmart everywhere. So I don't know where the growth comes from, or they just have to really start killing it even more, and you don't want to see bad guidance and something like that. I don't know about sandbagging. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe they're sandbagging a little bit for this report just to set up for the next one. But even for that, we're going to need to see the next report to see that they actually sandbagged. So that would give us probably about 3 months of a little bit of weakness. Where I think I don't know, maybe bulls just rampage and buy everything because that's what they do. But I think if I was a bull trying to get into this thing, the first spot I would really be looking to target is about 95.60, and I would much rather have someone close to this 91.95 for a shot. Um, but yeah, we're gonna need if they're sandbagging, then we're gonna need to negate that sandbag, the guidance, and that's gonna be the next report. So we got some time. Let's see what else we got. Coinbase. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, BTC, USD. Yeah, Bitcoin is starting to get a little interesting. Yesterday looked like complete poo-poo. We started dropping through that 100. Obviously, there was a decent pullback. Bulls did rally, not yesterday, but 2 days ago. We closed as a nice high wave candle. We were watching this one having a little issue at this 96,339 zone. We finally got a good close above that. And now you are sitting at the next resistance, and we are slightly above it. But 97,588. Watch 97,882. If this one starts to break, that could be very good consolidation. Again, we've been up here and got smacked down before. Maybe it happens again. But this one is starting to look like decent consolidation and bulls maybe trying to step in. If we could break that last zone 97,882, next immediate target I think takes you to 99,352. We've been there before. I think that could break. And then I'm probably looking at targets for 101, 630, and then back to 101, 997. But we'll see how today closes. But it's already starting to show a little bit of interest from the Bulls. Coin, who did get smacked around yesterday. Let's take some of these lines off. What? Oh, there's alerts. Uh, yeah, definitely 3 days down. Probably a decent day to look to sell some puts, make your own financial decisions, but probably a decent day to look for some put sales, especially if you get them anywhere 246 or below. You do have your 200 sitting at 240 or 237.90, but you have a little bit of a gap up. Look for your first resistance on this one, 263, and then next stop 269.08. But probably a little bit of chop inside day. If you get some kind of a pullback, I think this 259.78 should be a strong hold spot for today. If we start to lose that, next spot down is 254.58, and then maybe a potential into like 247. But probably a little bit oversold. And then if Bitcoin starts to break out, that could give a little bit of strength. Interesting buy spot. We've seen it make some decent moves from this zone before up to like 308. So that's about a $40 move if it could get there again. So I think coin would be one to watch to go bullish. High wave candle out of the gate. I would look for that one too if we get it. The other one is MSTR. Just a pretty insane kind of breakdown candle, not looking that great. Any bears in this thing? They also had some separate news on MSTR too, where they were kind of I think putting out more bonds and raising money and going further in debt to just buy more Bitcoin. But again, if that's the case, if they can make that interest rate work and Bitcoin does do what they think, then that would be turn out to be a pretty smart investment on their part. But immediately nobody likes any debt. Otherwise, you do have some close somewhere right at that previous VPOC. If we start losing essentially yesterday's low, the next immediate spot, which I don't think is that strong, but you have 315.06, and then I could see back to 297. Other than that, you do have Bitcoin, which looks like it's trying to break out. You have a gap up in MSTR. You are holding some supports. And yeah, I think you probably target into this 327.23. Anything above that, you got 334.15, something like that. Tesla. Have we looked at lemonade lately? I think last week, so we'll pull that up again. We got Tesla is chilling for now. We will have to deal with yesterday's VPOC. So anything above, we still haven't really hit this zone. We got very close to it, but 368.77, I think will still be a pretty dominant resistance on this one. And then I don't know what happens from there, all the way up to probably like 369.38. I don't know what happens from there. You do have some moving averages starting to roll in. But if we can start getting closed above 369.38, then I think back to this like 378, 380 zone would make sense. Otherwise, yeah, we'll have to see. First things first, we have to get past this 362.23 zone. If we could do that, get some candles, then I think we get some more continued rally on Tesla. Otherwise, look for some support, immediate support around, and it's just a weak one, but 358.96 all the way down to support of 354.26 if it could get there. Otherwise, still looking good. I'd probably still want to stay a little bit more bullish than bearish on it for today. LMND, lemonade, gap up, a little bit of a reversal candle. So we made recent new highs, broke a pivot. This is a strong monster retest candle. This support would be the first decent support, 36.23. We got there yesterday. So if that breaks, I think a really good support on this one is 34.92 if it gets down there. Otherwise, that might have been the retest, and I would actually stay bullish on lemonade for today too. I think it looks pretty. That's a crazy 3-bar reversal. That might be one to keep an eye on. But yeah, I kind of like that. I don't know. Again, for day trading, I haven't really. And then I see one more. Disney is probably a little bit of a small pullback. I would assume at open. Good breakout candle yesterday. I think bulls will want to probably step into this one and buy the dips with eventual targets up to like back to this 113.20 zone. Other than that, everybody on YouTube land, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button if you have not done so already. We got today, one more day left, and short week.